G'day viewers, Alan here. Welcome back to the workshop. In this video I want to wrap up the maintenance work I was doing on the gearbox from a big lathe. Got most of the stuff cleaned up ready to go, so we can get right into it. First thing I want to do though is address an issue of a UFO which was raised by you in the previous video. So let's have a look at that. Okay, well an eagle-eyed viewer spotted something that looked like a ball bearing coming out with the oil when I drained the oil out of the gearbox. So I went back to the original video and homed in on the relevant area, and then slowed the video down to 25%. And when I did that, I was pretty sure that it's not a ball bearing, but it looks like a piece of swarf. It's certainly long rather than round. It's certainly a cylinder rather than a ball. So I think it was just a bit of scrap, a bit of swarf or something. Okay, so I've cleaned the all the other bits in the usual method, a bit of a degrease and a scrub and all the rest of it. But cleaning this gasket up for reuse is a little bit different. I'm going to try to peel off all this old gasket goo. That's the idea. I'm not sure the best way to go about it. So I'm not sure where the gasket ends and the gasket goo starts. I think the gasket is quite good enough to reuse. So I won't bore you with this, I'll keep picking away and show you what it looks like when I've finished. Okay, so after a painstaking and careful scraping exercise, I've got this gasket all cleaned up. I'm not sure what it's made of. It looks like some sort of artificial cork. I don't think it's actually cork, but anyway, it seems it's rubbery and fairly durable, so it's not going to be an issue reusing it. But managed to get both sides pretty clean. So now I've got to choose the gasket goop for reassembly. I want to use one which will not act like super glue, basically. So I've got this Loctite 510. Okay, well I've decided I'm not going to use this Loctite 510 because it will actually set and be a bit like a cement, I think. It's also really meant for metal to metal contact. So what I'm going to use instead, I've got this other gear here, which I was trying to remember. This is a non-hardening sealant. So its formulation is a little bit like grease, I suppose. Anyway, you put a smear of that all the way around, and it sets off by the evaporation of a solvent carrier. But it doesn't harden, and I'm hoping that using this will mean that I can pull this thing apart again if I ever have to. Not that I'm planning to do that very often, of course, but the thing is I can't replace the gasket, and it's showing some crush which you might be able to pick up, and so it's already been crushed once, so I don't think I can trust it to be reassembled without something. So I'll use this because I can't buy a replacement gasket, and I don't feel like trying to make something as intricate as this myself. I could, but I don't want to. And I assume the thickness is actually important to the alignment of the pieces as well. So I'm going to be using that. Okay, all the bits are cleaned up, so it's time to start some reassembly. Doesn't matter where we start. I've marked I don't know whether you'll be able to see this or not, but I've marked the pieces when I dismantled them for their position, so that's got an R on it. As has that. Anyway, so I can get everything back in the right hole. So I think we'll put got to put an O-ring on here. So look at my O-ring kit. Yeah, I think that's going to be close enough. So we've got a few of those. That's the old one. And we'll slip a new one on. It's a pretty tight fit. Now hang on, let's get my assembly sequence correct here. Yes, I think that's got to go on next. I can go in there and put a little bit of oil on to assist in the reassembly. Should imagine that'll be enough. That side will be in the gearbox, so it won't matter. Right, so we slip That's the right end here, so we'll slip that in from that side. The O-ring might be a bit tight. Yep. So hopefully that means it will seal. The right hand one's got to go on, and we need a key. The key to go in there. It's gone all the way down, I think. And now we've got to have balls and springs, but fortunately you can put the balls and the springs in from the back side, so make it a bit easier to assemble. Hopefully. Come on. Oh. Perhaps you weren't all the way down. Get some squeezers. These Knipex or Knipex or Knipex, however you want to say it, they're pretty good. They've got an adjustable pivot point, so you can make them go to any size. But what's really good about them is they're a parallel draw and they're a smooth jaw, so they're really good for this sort of thing where you're trying to squeeze something in without doing any damage to anything. Go a little bit smaller. Right. Looks like it wasn't all the way in, doesn't it? So maybe now this will be a bit more inclined to go on. Yes, in fact it is. Right, leftmost one. Yes, we've got our L for left on there. And on there somewhere. Yes, on the back there. Okay. Right. I'll put you on. Yep, that's what you want. A touch more oil on that maybe. Right. Last key. Just check that for burrs. Yeah, there's a burr on there. There's a burr in there. Alright. Give him the squish. And on it goes. We'll let the screw pull that on. Oh, gotta get that. The end of this thing sticks down in the hole. Have to get the washer in cocked at an angle to get underneath the end of that handle. Right, now we're off. Right, let's pull that handle on. The retaining screw is a two-part thing. It has an inner core of a smaller grub screw, and the idea is that you use the protruding part of the inner grub screw to set the maximum depth of the retaining screw, so you can secure the handle tightly but without actually jamming the handle against the face plate. There's a bit of a fiddle getting it correctly adjusted though, and there's a bit of trial and error to get it right. That's got it. Yeah, that's got it just right. So now we can put the spring and the ball, or the ball and the spring in. And a little rub screw. Now, what bits have we got left? The ball, that's good. We should have a spring as well. Where's that spring? Missing a spring. Well, that's not good. What's happened to the spring? Yeah, well, I think we can use that and get away with it. At least I've got the ball. Right, so that's got that back in there. That isn't going to come off again. So now we can slide this in from the back. Oh, now this one has 2 spacer rings. Now which way around did they go? I took a photograph of that. I don't think it makes any difference. Let's two good dudes on. A little bit of oil on that shaft. Right. Slide that in there. Right. Okay. Well, that seems to be going on. Encourage it to go the rest of the way. I have to set the tension before I put this on because there's no hole to access that. I didn't think to make that feature. I think I said in the previous video that this blue piece that I'm just now screwing on are made out of a differential centre. So all these for reassembly need to be in there fully to the right positions. And I think I had this on 1, but I'll check that. The previous video. Alright, now because it was a bit of a hoo-ha, taking the plug out and catching the oil, I thought what I might do is put this guy in, pointing down. Oh, looks like it's got to be like that, and that should leave just enough room to get the funnel under the back there. So I think I'll leave putting this in until after I've got this thing installed. There's going to be a bit more room. Now these knobs have covers on them, but I'm not going to worry about putting them back on just yet. I've only got 2 of them anyway, but yeah, I'll get to that. So I have to put these, let's turn this round. So these selector levers have these little forks. Just clean them up a little bit better. Well, sorry, these aren't the forks. These are the sliders. I'm not sure what you call them. But these pieces engage in the forks. So I think before we do anything else, I'll do a dry fit back on to make sure this will actually, all these little forks and this all line up. Okay, so this is a setup I've got for putting that gearbox cover back on with a bit of control. Not sure how well this will work out because I'm using my phone camera for this. Anyway, so that's just tied back to the milling machine to stop it from swinging forwards, and the hope, fervent hope, is that when I let that swing down, it will easily engage on the dowel pins and allow itself to be fitted. Well, we'll see. Okay, we'll start by doing a final clean of the gasket faces. Not worried about these bits below the oil line, they're not going to cause me any grief. Alright, that's an extra little guide pin I've put in there with it's actually a ground down hex bolt, but that'll be coming out because the dowel pins on the cover are quite short. Anyway, that's that side. So now we'll do the other side. I'll have to check the camera lens after that. I've got the brake clean all over the camera lens. We'll see. They seem to go everywhere else. Alright. So I've decided to use the Loctite MR5923. It's a non-hardening, non-setting, and let's see how much mess I can get myself into with this stuff. It doesn't look like I've missed any. Alright, we'll put the gasket onto that. Spent a long time cleaning this gasket up and getting all the old crap off. Looks like it's shrunk a bit, doesn't it? Have I got it on the wrong way around? I think I might have it on the wrong way around. Let's try this way around. That's a better fit, isn't it? It's definitely a better fit. I've got goo all over my hands now. So I think now I'll do the goo on the machine rather than trying to do it on that gasket. You're not going to be able to see this, but I guess you've seen we need to see a gasket goo going on. Alright, now for the fun part. Make sure these are all in their correct place. Those are all vertical, that's over. Alright, well, let's see how we go. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Why don't you want to go on? Let's turn around a little bit. It's fiddler's thing, this. Come on, where's that hole? Right, we're in the right place. Yeah. We can start getting some of these screws in. All started, and now it's time to get this other little fella out. Right, last screw goes in there. We'll snug them all up now. Well, for better or for worse, that's it. So I'm just looking to make sure that I've actually got a gear in every position. Well, that's turning. That's turning. That's turning. Right. So, time will tell whether they're the correct gears, but I've actually got at least a gear on every position. So that's a good start. Let's put this back on. Right, it's the control box back on. And then we take all this lot off now too. The thread in the top of the gearbox here turned out to be just a regular M20. So I just went down to the local. I didn't actually have any M20s on hand, so I just went down to the local nut and bolt place and bought one. And that made it easy. This thing here was obviously just to allow me to lift the thing on its centre of gravity, and that worked out pretty well. That was the extended dowel pin used. It was just a cap head screw. Actually it was a sort of a mushroom head, I think. Anyway, I just ground it down so that I had something to use as a lead in, because the dowel pins were quite short. Yeah. And also, I've realised that I've got a leak, another leak from around here, so that's a job for another day. So I've been thinking about this elbow overnight, and I don't think I'm going to go ahead with that. Once I worked out that I needed a decent sized funnel, the sheet metal baked bean tin pouring spout which I stuck on here works just fine, and having this hanging out the side here, it's just one more thing that can leak and get in the way. So I'm just going to put the plug back, and if I ever have to take the oil out again, I know how to do it. So I'm going to seal the plug with this stuff. I've used it on all my airline and other things, and it's great stuff. It's I think they call it anaerobic. It sets off as soon as you put it in place, and the air's excluded. You don't need very much of it either. use this as well because it's pretty bloody expensive actually. Okay. Let's do this up just tight enough that it resists vibration, and that should be good enough. Okay, so getting ready to fill this up with oil now. Got my oil drum ready, so we'll roll the gantry back out the way, and that rolls very easily because it's on very good wheels, very good casters with proper roller bearings, and also actually those casters can be locked in directionally locked, which makes it very easy to move like that. All right, let's get some oil in. It's just coming up now. I think you'll be able to see that. There's a bit more to go in. Probably one pump, I would think. Right. Yeah, I think we're going to call that it. So, quick test just to make sure that things are looking good. So I think you can see here that if you look at the cutting tool, it's just going to chase the thread along, hopefully. That's a 10 TPI thread, and I've got the thing set for 10 TPI, so let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'll do a more scientific test later, but I think that's good enough to prove that at least one of the thread speeds is correct. Okay, so it's time to put the lid on. I'll wrap this up. Okay, and to put the label on. These 4 little Phillips head screws. Right, there it is. Job done. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, perhaps click on the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss out on future ones. But in any case, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.